Okay, we're going to start a new exercise today on Sage, Smart Property Designs Limited. And within this exercise, we're going to be looking at various new functions within Sage. So we'll be amending the VAT rate. We'll be looking at printing various reports, for example, an age debtors report and an age creditors report. We'll be posting journals, including a payroll journal. We'll be looking at how to run a VAT return within Sage, and we'll be completing with a bank reconciliation. Okay, so let's just first have a look at the details that we require in order to set up our new company. Okay, we're going to need the financial year, the date the financial year begins, which is the 1st of April. Okay, so that's the 1st of April 2013, so we'll need that date. We also need to know whether it's a limited company or a sole trader. We're going to set it up as a limited company. Okay, and the VAT rate that we're going to be using is going to be 20%. Okay, so it's going to be 20%. Okay, so first of all we need to get Sage open. So remember, just go to Start at the bottom left hand corner of your computer, select all programs, and then find the file with Sage accounts. Okay, so we just open that, and then you want to be selecting Sage 50 accounts 2012. So we're just going to open Sage. Now remember, to get started, you can open any company. Okay, so open your company's data. So you just want to be selecting, make sure that box is checked, open your company's data. Okay, we just select OK. And then just open any company that you currently have listed. If you don't have any companies already set up within Sage, Sage may well take you directly into the Sage wizard for setting up a company. So you may just have the screen set up company. In that case, just wait a few minutes while I catch up with you. Okay, so I'm just going to say OK. And then remember, Sage will always prompt you for a logon. So we just need to enter our login, which is manager. Okay, MANAGER. We have no password set up, so just leave that blank and just say OK. Okay, once we have Sage open, we then want to basically set up a new company. So in order to do that, we need to go to File, okay, which is just up here. Now if I go to File on the drop down menu and I just select New, and you'll see here we have Company. So if you select New and Company, it will then say it cannot be run with any other windows open. Okay, well, I don't have any work that I'm currently working on that I don't want to be lost, so I can just say yes. Okay, now remember, sometimes there might be too many companies set up already depending on the license. So in order to delete a company, I'll need to go to File and Delete Company. So if you do get a message coming up saying you have too many companies, You just need to delete one. I'm going to delete the last one that was set up. So you just highlight one of the companies that you don't require. You should have backups for all your companies anyway. And I'll just select OK. It'll ask me if I want to continue. I'll just say yes. Do you wish to delete the company? Yes. Because just always make sure that you have backup on a memory stick or somewhere else. You don't want to be keeping just the data on the list here. So as I say, because it might get deleted or corrupted. So I'm just going to say yes. I'm just going to delete that one. Okay, once the company has been deleted, it will come up with a message letting me know that that's been done. This company has been deleted, and just say OK. Right, so now we can get on with setting up our new company. So again, if we go to File and New and Company, it then brings me into the company setup. Now, some of you might have been sort of brought into this company setup wizard straight away if there weren't any companies already set up on Sage. Others might have had to have gone through the process that I just went through, including possibly deleting one of the companies. Okay, so basically we are here. Now you want to select the option set up a new company. Okay, so we're just going to make sure that box there is ticked, set up a new company. Under no circumstances amend this, okay? Keep that as it is, otherwise it will cause problems later. Okay, so we're just going to select next. And then we're going to enter the company name, which for this exercise is Smart Property Designs Limited. Okay, now if we go to the next page, we should have some more details here. Okay, we have the address. Okay, we have the address for the company here, so we can enter that, and we have the VAT number as well. Okay, and we have the date that the financial year begins. Okay, so let's just get on and enter those details. Okay, we don't have a telephone number at the moment, so again, if you don't have the data, you can't enter it. So these details can always be amended, remember, through settings and company preferences at a later date. So we're just going to select next. Now here your screen might differ slightly, so you'll be given the option of selecting either limited or sole trader possibly. So if you want to select limited, if you have a similar screen to mine, then you want to be selecting basically this box here, general. Okay. Okay, so just that general box there. Okay, once you've selected either general or limited, depending on what screen you have up there, we just want to select next. Now remember your VAT rate will be 20%. Okay, so you might need to just select that. Okay, now the financial year, as I said, is the 1st of April, so we want to find April, and it's 2013. So just make sure you select the year 2013. Okay, remember you can just select these the drop down menu here with the arrow, and just you can either scroll up or down. Okay, so right, once you've got the correct date up for the beginning of the financial year, and remember with Sage it's always the date that the financial year begins that you need to enter, not the date that the financial year ends. Once you've done that, then you can just select next. Okay, so select next. Okay, is the company VAT registered? Yes, so we just need to enter our VAT registration number. Okay, and if you have, again, a similar screen up and it's asking, is your company using the VAT cash accounting scheme? Okay, right, you just want to select no, but I don't think it actually prompts you for this in the 2012 version, so you can select next. For those of you that want to know more about the cash accounting scheme, there is further information on Blackboard. So just have a look in this week, which is week 5, to read a little bit more about the cash accounting scheme. Okay, and then we can select next. Okay, and again it is pound sterling that we're going to be using, so this currency should be sterling. That is selected, and then we can select next. And again, you'll be prompted to enter your serial number and activation key, which has already been entered for you, so you can simply select next. And then just one last check, make sure that the details you've entered are correct. All details can be changed except for the date that the financial year begins, so make sure that you have that correct. Okay. Now once you've checked those details and you're happy they're correct, just select finish, and Sage will start to create the chart of accounts and build your company. Okay, once Sage has created the company, it will then again prompt you for the logon. Remember, the default logon is manager. Okay, and there is currently no password, so then we can select OK. Now remember, you can check that your company has been set up by looking at the top blue bar just above the toolbar on Sage, and now here you should see your company name, Smart Property Designs Limited. Okay, so we know this company has been set up correctly. Okay, so I'm just now going to move on to the first main task, which is entering our opening balance journal. Okay, now as I said sort of earlier in the module, you'll probably be setting up Sage. The company itself will have been running for a while, so you're going to have balances coming forward from previous accounting periods. So that's what these balances are. These are balances that have already been built up within the company, and so these are our opening balances for this accounting period, okay, for this new accounting period, the new financial year, which for this company is the 1st of April 2013. Now, a company can have any date as its financial year, so just be aware of that. Okay, so at the beginning of this financial year, this company had plant and machinery that had cost £255,000, but it had also had £100,000 allocated in depreciation. Okay, and as we go down, we can see, okay, bank account, they also had £82,143.89 in the bank account. So you can see I've got various items that are being brought forward from the previous financial accounting period at the beginning of this new accounting period. Okay, so we need to enter those into the software to make sure that our balances are correct. So now we're going to do this by entering a journal. Remember, our nominal codes have been given to you as well. So these are the nominal codes. Remember that Sage needs, every transaction you enter into Sage needs to be given a nominal code so that Sage knows whether to enter it to the balance sheet or the profit and loss, and how to categorize it for the financial statements. So okay, so let's go back to Sage. Now we're going to enter a journal, so the journal is always kept within the nominal ledger. So remember, to go to the nominal ledger, you can go to Modules on the top toolbar, and then, as I say, you may have the nominal ledger and financials listed separately, so you can just select nominal ledger. If you have a different version of Sage, for example 2009, you'll need to actually select company, and then that will take you into the nominal ledger. Okay, so now you can see here on the nominal ledger toolbar we have journals, so you just want to select the journal button, okay, on the nominal ledger. So if I just click that, and that will bring up our nominal ledger journals. Okay, now a journal should always have a reference. Okay, normally there might be an Excel spreadsheet or possibly a book kept somewhere where each journal number will be written down sequentially. Okay, so you sort of have 1, 2, 3, and then some sort of a reference, you know, what was that journal for, just so that when people are going through the nominal ledger activity reports within Sage or looking at transactions within Sage, they can then go and look up possibly you know, on the Excel spreadsheet where the details are kept, to see, you know, what that journal actually related to, and why it was entered. I mean, we have some space here, details, to put in a description, so there'll be some idea from the software itself. You can enter a description here, but sometimes you might not be able to get in all the details, all the reasons as to why it was entered, so those details will be kept within normally an Excel spreadsheet. Therefore we need to have a reference number so that you can obviously track and tie up those journals. Okay, so this is our first journal of the year, so I'm just going to call it Journal 1. But as I say, they should go in sequential order. So just like sales invoices, it should be 1, 2, 3. So if we had journals before and the last one was 4, this one would have to be 5. Okay, but we'll start with JNL1. The date is very important. It's very important to get the date correct, because obviously this determines which accounting period the journal, this transaction, will be allocated to. Okay, so the date is going to be the 1st of April 2013. It's the beginning of our financial year, and it's our opening balances that we're entering. Okay, so the first one is going to be allocated to, if I look at the question, nominal code 0020. Okay, so I'm just looking at this nominal code, I'm going to enter this amount. So that's the first transaction I'm going to enter. Okay, so you can see here the cursor is flashing. It defaults to the N/C. I'm just going to type in 0020. Now you can see here that Sage automatically starts searching for the nominal code. So I'll type in 00, it automatically goes to assets. Okay. Again, you can review your chart of accounts to familiarise yourself with these nominal codes and whether they belong in the balance sheet or the profit and loss. So this is plant and machinery. Just go straight to details, always leave the department at 0. Okay, in details, I'm just going to enter some sort of, explanation as to what this journal is for. So we're going to say this is an open balance journal. Okay, now if I just tab across, remember journals are always going to have the tax code, the VAT code in other words, as T9 because these journals are outside the scope of that. Okay, so I'm just going to enter 255,000. Okay, and then I just tab down to the next line and I enter the next nominal code within the opening balance journal. Okay, I'm just going to continue now entering the balances for the opening journal, and I'd like you just to continue with me. So if we now start completing this, okay? Remember, you can use your F6 key to copy down the description or copy down any details that are similar. Okay, so remember with all journals, you need to make sure that that your debit column and your credit column balance. Okay, so you'll see here that the totals are the same. Okay. Now let's just have a look at what we've entered. Okay, so at the top here we have our assets, plant and machinery, office equipment. Okay, and then we have our depreciation. Okay. Now, so effectively what we're doing is we are allocating the assets depreciation cost over the period of its useful life. Okay, and the double entry is basically we're going to debit the depreciation expense in the profit and loss. Okay, that's going to be our journal. Okay. And then we need to credit. We need to credit the asset. So we need to credit the depreciation in the balance sheet against the asset. Okay, right. Okay, so let's have a look and see what else there is. Right. Okay, so office equipment is another asset, and again that needs to be depreciated, so depreciation has been allocated. We have here prepayments. Okay, now briefly, a prepayment is obviously when something is paid in advance. Okay, so you might pay your rent in advance. It might be normally rent is paid sort of at the beginning possibly of a quarter, so you might pay rent maybe 6 months in advance or 3 months. Now you have obviously paid for the use of that office, so someone then owes you effectively something, so it's an asset. What you have is what you've created is a current asset. So you've paid out money for effectively the use of the office for 6 months, okay? But you haven't actually consumed that asset yet. So the double entry for that, if you're paying your rent in advance, is going to be, obviously money's going out of the bank, so you're going to credit bank, and you need to debit your current assets in the category of prepayments. So it would be debit prepayments and credit bank. Okay. Now if I come down to the next line, you'll see here we have something called accruals. Now that effectively is the opposite of prepayments. Now if you look in your chart of accounts, and remember this is under the COA button, and just have a look at the category that accruals is within, you'll notice that it's actually within current liabilities. So an accrual is a liability, a current liability, and that happens, it's the opposite. Basically, you have consumed something, for example, possibly electricity, or possibly your accountant has done some work for you, and you haven't posted this invoice to the supplier ledger. Work has been done, you haven't paid for it, so therefore you obviously owe money for a service rendered. So that would be accounted for as an accrual. Now obviously if you've receive an invoice from a supplier and you post that invoice to the supplier ledger, you will not need to account for an accrual. So you're only accounting for the accrual for services rendered where a supplier invoice has not been posted to the supplier ledger. Okay, but effectively we owe money for services rendered that we haven't yet paid for. Okay, now coming down to the bank account, we can see here, okay, we've got a debit balance of £82,143.89. Now a debit balance means that we have money in the account. Remember, money in the bank, cash in the bank is, or cash held, is an asset. Okay, it's a current asset, and again you can check your COA, your chart of accounts, to familiarise yourself with these nominal codes. If that balance that was held within the current account was a credit balance, that would mean that we were overdrawn. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, coming down we now have petty cash. So again, that's another current asset, so it's cash in hand. So we can see we've got £150 there. Okay, now we come down to PAYE and national insurance. Okay, so what's that? So basically these two here are payroll taxes. Okay, so they're accounted for within Sage separately, but you'll be sending one payment to HMRC. Okay, so these are taxes that a business incurs on payroll. And usually what happens is at the end of each month, a certain amount of money is owed to HMRC, and that needs to be accounted for until it's paid, usually due around about the 19th of the month. Right, so that's the 19th of the following month. Okay, we then have some loans. So we owe money to various lenders, and then we have our share capital and reserves. Okay, so once you've checked the details are correct and the balances are correct, just save. Okay, so you can save the journal. Okay, so we're now coming up to task 2. Now this is we're just going to have a review of how to change the VAT code if you need to. Now we set the company up at 20%, but if, for example, in our previous exercise, the VAT rate we used was 17.5%. So if the company had been set up to use the VAT rate 17.5%, and then for some reason we needed to change it, like, you know, if the government changes the VAT rate as it did from 17.5% to 15 and then to 20, we would need to go to settings on the top toolbar. So we select settings and then configuration. Okay, again, this function can't be completed with any other windows open. So I have 2 windows open down here, the nominal ledger and welcome to Sage. Okay, I'm quite happy to close those, so I'm just going to say yes. Right, now this brings up the configuration editor. Now I just need to select tax codes. Okay, the VAT rate can be amended within the tab tax codes. So if I open that tab, you'll see here now I have the rates and our various VAT codes that Sage uses. Now it's the standard rate I want to amend, so I'm going to select T1. Okay, and you just need to edit, so we now select edit. Okay, and that brings up the edit tax code screen. Okay, now we have here the code that we're going to edit and the rate. So I'm just going to delete 17.5%. I'm going to enter 20%. Okay. So we want to include that in the VAT return, so I can just then select OK. And you'll note here that that has now changed to 20%. Now in order to save that, we actually need to select apply, okay, not save. So you need to apply it in order for it to be registered. Okay, so if I select apply, and then I can close. Okay, and our VAT rate will be set at 20%.